to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Guns, self-defense, concealed carry. This is the Patriot Defense Podcast. From the war room in Idaho's high desert, here's your host, Todd Echols.
And we are back once again. It is Sunday afternoon, and we are tucked away in the war room somewhere in the high desert of southern Idaho. And joining me again is Eli.
Hello.
He can't get enough of this every week. No, it's so much better doing a podcast with someone else. I don't mind doing it by myself. It's just easier. There's more better conversation and different opinions, right? Because when I'm here and it's just me, guess who's right all the time? Me, and no one can argue with that. But how you been, sir?
Been good.
Good Thanksgiving?
Yeah, probably too good.
You ate like freaking 3 Thanksgiving meals, didn't you?
Yes.
Oh, man.
I wish I could say I did a good job at like portioning it out, but I didn't. So.
We were sending each other like memes and stuff back and forth all day. Yeah, no, I hear you. We had like 18 people here, and my wife sent home leftovers, and we have so much food left.
Even with 18 people.
Oh, man, wow. Yeah. I mean, we cooked 2 turkeys.
Ooh.
And and my wife doesn't really eat turkey. Like, she doesn't eat a lot of, she's just not a big turkey fan, I guess. So I got it in Ziploc bags. I'm getting ready to probably throw it in the freezer.
Okay.
Because my coach would get mad at me if I sat down and just finished it all off. So here's a little secret. So, and you used to be, people don't know this about you. You used to be a
personal
trainer, right? Yeah. So you know about this, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I really like chocolate, Eli. Love me some chocolate. In fact, I'm the weird guy who I'll sit down and eat 100% a bar, like 100% dark chocolate, and like it doesn't bother me. Like I love like dark chocolate. My wife was asking me, she's like, "Oh, come on, we get to the holidays, and she's like, "Well, I want to make something you can eat," and I'm like, "Just don't worry about me. I'll look and see what you make, and because I got to like stay within these little stupid macros and whatnot, which I'm not complaining about it. It helps me a lot. So, I like weigh my food out. I do all kinds of weird stuff. But she's like, "Okay, what about pie?" I said, tell you, do me a favor. I said, go and buy me a pie. I want a chocolate pie, right? So there's I forget the name of it there. What's the name of that lady? It's a lady. It's a woman's name. Then they make pies.
Marie Callender's?
Yes. Yeah. So she got me this chocolate silk pie, and I didn't have any that day. So what I've done is I keep it in the freezer, okay? And then people are going to think I'm just weird. This is just the way I am. I keep it in the freezer, and if it's in the fridge, I'll just eat that whole freaking pie in a day. I got no qualms with that.
By itself or a glass of milk? Or?
No, I haven't drank milk in like probably 6 years.
Oh, no milk.
No milk.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So anyhow, this pie is in the freezer and the deep freeze. So I take it out and it doesn't freeze solid. I take it out and I'm like, every day I take like a spoonful of this stupid pie. And I'm going to tell you what, it is so freaking good. It's like I live for that bite of that pie every day.
Is that beginning of the day or end of the day?
It's usually like lunchtime.
Oh, okay.
Right?
That midday. Snack.
Yeah. So I eat at 6, I eat at 9, I eat at noon, I eat at 3, and I eat at 6 again.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So I usually like fit it in there. I feel comfortable and safe saying this because I'm pretty sure that my coach does not listen to this podcast. And I think tomorrow, actually, I'm getting ready to go into I don't know. She controls all the eating and what I eat and how much I eat. And I think she told me, she says, "Come on Monday, we start a cut." And I'm like, "Oh, great." So I can like look forward. And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, it's like half of what I'm eating gone." Now I'm going to have to make up for it in pie.
How long do you think that pie's gonna last?
I don't know. It depends on how big a bites I take. It depends on how big a spoon I take out there. Is what it depends on.
One of these days, just have a spatula.
If I'm in the middle of this cut, that pie might not make it. Todd may be getting a little hangry, but no, it's good. And people always ask me, and this episode probably won't get a lot of downloads. Whenever I talk about like health and fitness and how it relates to shooting, that people don't download this. I have no idea why, right? They don't want to wake up to the fact. But, if you're going to carry a gun for self-defense and the healthier you are, the more fit you are, the better it's going to be for you. The better your shooting is. You're able to stabilize yourself. You don't get winded.
Response time.
Your response time. And think about if you were in like a self-defense encounter where you actually had to use your firearm, right? Your heart rate's going to go through the roof. And, if it goes physical, if it goes hands-on, you were law enforcement. If you ever had an incident where it went hands-on, that's your heart rate shoots through the roof.
Oh, yeah.
And if it's already up there anyway, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you get winded real easily anyway. It's not a good thing. So, I try hard. I work out and go run and kind of watch what I eat. And, I used to be a totally different person about 7 or 8 years ago. So it is what it is. I just encourage everyone to do their best. And if you want to shoot better, it makes carrying a gun a lot easier too.
Yeah.
So you went for this is the health and fitness show, the podcast. So you went with a run for me the other day. How long's it been since you got out and run?
It was a run for you. It was a mild walk for me.
You ran a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. It had been
a little while.
Yeah, it had been a while. So I would say 2018 since I probably seriously had to run.
Right.
I did a Spartan race, I think 2019.
Oh, nice. Okay. I've done 2 Spartans.
And then 2018 was my last year having to do the fitness test in the Air Force. So kind of stayed somewhat in shape in order to pass that.
Gotcha.
And then, the Spartan run was probably.
So what did you think?
It.
What did you think of that trail? Was that like any trail run that you'd ever been on before? Did you go off pavement before?
Yeah, I've been off pavement before, but it was really nice. As far as scenery, it's unmatched from what I've run on.
Up
before.
And down over rocks,
Yeah.
and it's a whole different world.
Yeah, and even the mild, you look at it, you think it's a mild climb or something, just a little slope, and then as soon as you're running it, it feels like it's a mountaintop or something.
It does. You did great, and the good news is, everyone, if you're asking, is you're coming back Tuesday to do it again.
Yes.
I love it.
Yeah.
So we did about 3 miles that day.
Yeah. That's from what would you call it? From 0 to 100, basically, as far as where I was at. Yeah. So 3 miles just out the gate.
It's good though, and you spend a few days enjoying that. The good feeling you get from a run. So awesome! I can't wait to get you back out there. Pretty soon you're going to be going every day with me.
Yeah. It's going to be like that, you and the pie with the spoon. Yeah. It'll get bigger and bigger.
Yeah, exactly. So, funny thing, speaking of running, so we always like to, start the show off with a little bit of small talk. And this is, I don't know, it's kind of funny. So, the other day when we were driving to go running, I was funny because I remember I was telling you, I was like, now, because you've been here a couple of years, but I don't know where you've driven and where you haven't. And I always said, hey, look in the dark and you're coming over, watch out because there's deer. You don't think there's deer here, and you don't want to hit any, right? Well, this morning I'm heading out to run, zipping right along that same area, zipping along at about 55 miles an hour, and bam, it smacked me a 3-point buck. Doing about 55 miles an hour in my old 2007 Chevy Tahoe shit box is what it is. And smacked that sucker. And I laid on the brakes, stopped, backed up, got out. I'm in my awesome running attire.
Think neon green.
No,
everyone out there, neon
actually,
green.
It has a little bit of a neon green stripe on it. So and neon green shoes and running tights. So that just paint that picture for you. It was wonderful, right? So I get out and I look, and I'm making sure I don't want to shut my vehicle off. I've made that mistake before. If it's running, don't shut it off. Just let it run as long as it's going to run. And I get out and look, and I busted up the grill, and I took the driver's side lights out, and they're just laying on the ground. And I popped the hood. I got my flashlight, my headlamp out there. I'm looking. There's like nothing leaking. The radiator is not the same shape as it was before I hit the deer. The radiator is concave now. It's not leaking. So I'm just going to leave it alone. But yeah, I checked that all out, and I'm looking at this deer. It's over here dying on the side of the road. It's dark out, right? It's dark on country road. I'm like, I didn't fill my buck tag this year. I'm looking over at this deer going, Idaho has a salvage law. So I went ahead and I called the sheriff. I called 911. That's what I did because I didn't know who else to call. I didn't know how to get a salvage tag. And the lady explained. And if you live in Idaho, let me just tell you how this is. As I learned today that if the animal is dead and it is a salvageable animal, and you can go on the Idaho Fish and Game website and it'll tell you if you can salvage that animal, which a mule deer you can. You actually just can do this on your phone or your home computer. I did it on my phone, pulled it all up, put my name, my address, where I hit it, what I hit, and told them I was taking everything home with me. You don't even have to take it all home, I guess. But because it asked if you're going to salvage part of it or what. I said, I'll take the whole thing home. So I did that. I got my approval sent to me, which all took a matter of like 4 minutes. And then I had to figure out how to get this stupid deer into the back of my Tahoe. Good thing the seats were out. I wrestled that thing in there. And, I don't know how much that thing was, 100 plus pounds. I mean, it was all limp, right? And it was like, it was a pain in the butt, funny shape, and anyhow, it took me about 15 minutes and I wrestled that damn thing in the back of the Tahoe. And I'm sitting there and I sent pictures to my wife. She called me. She goes, well, you coming home then? And I'm like, I don't think I'm going to. She goes, well, what do you mean? I'm like, well, the deer's in the back of my Tahoe. Now, this isn't a pickup. This is an enclosed SUV, right? Just laying there. It's like, I think I'm going to go run. I had planned to run 7 miles. I think I'm going to go run. I think I'm good. And I'm going to come back. And she's like, you better be sure that damn thing is dead. And I'm like, I think it's dead. The entire time as I'm driving to the trailhead to go run, what I'm thinking of that scene from Tommy Boy. Right. And I'm down there running and I get almost done with my run and I have to run past the parking lot and go like a quarter mile to finish this thing off. And I can drive I'm running right by where I could see my vehicle. I did slow down a little bit and I looked back over my shoulder. I expected to see my truck just a rock, and I expected to see like windows smashed out, and nothing. I was lucky he was dead, I guess. So anyhow, that's my adventure. Brought the thing home and hung it in the tree and got it all taken care of. It's in the fridge. It's in the freezer. I'll finish cutting it up tomorrow. So got me my deer, man.
Yeah, I call it the headlight special because 100 pounds of meat for one headlight?
Yeah,
that's a good deal. That is
a dang good deal, and I'm just gonna go to the salvage yard, the parts yard, and just buy some used stuff, zip tie everything into place, and call it good. I'm not even changing the radiator out. I don't even freaking care. I'm that guy. I'm that redneck, right? I'll drive that thing till the engine blows up. But so that was my exciting Sunday morning. I didn't get to do what I wanted to do, which was sit in here with Netflix and YouTube running. And if you look around, you can kind of see these buckets here. And I put some videos up on Instagram and TikTok and whatnot. I spent the last 2 or 3 days just like separating brass. That bucket right there is almost clear full of 9mm brass. I separated out of that tub right there next to you, and no one else can see this, but so I just been sitting here separating brass all weekend. It's been great.
Nice.
I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I'm separating it.
That's the start.
I tried to see if I could sell it. It's like $4 for like 100.
Oh, really?
And I'm like, that's all people are getting. And that's polished and deprimed. Wow. I'm not putting that kind of freaking work into it.
Yeah. Wow.
So I don't know. I feel rich having all the brass laying around, though. It makes me feel happy, happy inside.
Throw it on your bed and swim in it.
Oh man, it's great. All this brass, it's fantastic. Now, if I could just get primers enough to, to put in the brass, we'd be pretty good. So, what else did I want to talk about? Oh, well, if you haven't seen me on social media for a few days, it's because I got kicked off. I got banned for a few days. I think I'm back on now. I'm allowed to post now, but I posted something in a memes group that I didn't think was that bad. You saw it. It wasn't that bad, was it?
Yeah, but did you run it by the White House first?
No, I did not run it by the White House.
That's where you went wrong.
That's where they obviously don't like clothing that's been, crocheted.
Yeah.
That's
unless it's made in China.
Unless
if it would have been made in China, it would have probably been okay.
The Cajun Cowboy is trying to call me right now. He's going to have to wait. I thought about picking him up live for a minute because I can do that on this board, but I don't think he'd like. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I just looked down there and he's calling. But so if you haven't seen me on social media, that is why. I'll be back on there. I guess I'm going to post on Facebook again. I don't know why. They've got me so throttled. I get like 4 views, or I post something on a Monday and no one sees it till Saturday, and it's getting a little old. So I don't know what the next social media is. Twitter. I'm on Twitter. I put my first Patriot Defense post on Twitter.
What was it?
Just a picture of my brass. I was just irritated that I was like locked out of everything else. So I don't know. Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. I mean, they're all garbage anymore, right? And I know a lot of people say, well, you want to go to like the smaller ones, right? The Rumble. No one that comes and takes classes from me. Hardly anyone is on freaking Rumble. Like no one will see me, right? And that's I hate this stuff.
Well, maybe if you post the pictures, maybe the caption below every picture you post, put something that is like in accordance with the agenda. Put like that same picture you posted, but underneath say something about eat less meat.
Yeah, yeah, there you go. I should do that. Something.
Just something. Yeah. I love Biden.
Yeah. I am actually, you know what? I'm going to try that. I'm going to try that for a week.
Mark Zuckerberg is amazing.
I'm going to try that for a week. Every time I post a picture, I'm going to put some phrase like that. I'm going to see if my views go up. I wonder if that'd really mess with the algorithm.
I think it would. I love Mark Zuckerberg, and then just put whatever picture you want. See what happens.
Elon Musk, suck it. I don't know.
Metaverse is amazing.
It's something. That's because something. But anyhow, I guess that's enough small talk. We'll get to the news. Did you see how smooth that transition that was?
Yeah, that was very smooth.
That was very smooth.
Were you a news anchor before?
You like how I did that?
Yeah, that was smooth.
Yeah. So there was actually, we talk about there's actually a gun. They have like an assault weapon ban, like still sitting there, right? Sitting. I forget what number it is, and I know if James is listening to me, he's going to scream at his phone right now. When he listens to this, he's going to be screaming at the phone. It's this. I've told you what it is 1,000 times. And I don't remember the number of the bill or whatever it is. But, they want to push this stuff during this lame duck session, right? Mm-hmm. That's what they want to do. And in fact, conspiracy theory or not, it's, what has happened in the last, we've had like 2 shootings, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, there was that one in Colorado at that nightclub, that gay nightclub, right? And they go in there pushing the AR, with the AR-15 I forget, like 5 or 6 people died or something like that. So there was that one all of a sudden. Then there was another one at Walmart where some Walmart manager took a handgun with him, right? You can't tell me, and I don't know. The Walmart one seems like it just kind of happened on its own, but some of these were. The people are so messed up and they have all these problems, and it always comes out, right? Like in the nightclub one. Well, that dude had like a fake bomb threat, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, they knew who he was. He had caused problems before. Yet what? He was in a red flag state, right? A state that has red flag laws. And they didn't flag him. He was still able to get these firearms. He was still able to carry. He was not on any watch list. He was not on. And it amazes me how they take these people that have issues, and a lot of them have had issues in the past, yet they're still able to get these firearms and go and do these things. And the question is why?
Yeah.
Why? Are they allowing it? Do they see it? And I know it sounds crazy, but I honestly think that most of these, they've just allowed. I think they see it as an opportunity. They always come on the heels of or right after, they've said, hey, we want to take your guns. We want to take your guns. And what do they have right now? They have this lame duck session going on, right? And we know that they want to take your guns. And in fact, on Thanksgiving, this is what we heard.
The idea we still allow semi-automatic weapons to be purchased is sick. It's just sick. It has no social redeeming value. Zero, none. Not a single solitary rationale for it except profit for the gun manufacturer.
Can you do anything about gun laws during the lame duck, sir?
I'm going to try.
What will you try and do?
I'm going to try to get rid of assault weapons.
During the lame duck?
I'm going to do it whenever I got to make that assessment as I get in and start counting the votes.
Mr. President, you said you're directly involved.
I mean, they've come right out and said it, right? He came right out and said it. They've come right out and said it before. And that was President Biden saying, we're coming after the semi. Now, notice he said semi-automatic weapons, and then he said assault weapons. Okay, so, he said assault weapons, and granted, AR-15 doesn't stand for assault rifles, right? Stands for Armalite rifles, but that's what they want on the assault weapons ban. But he also said semi-automatic, and I think we need to pay attention to that because the bill that they have in place, I believe, is kind of like the one that Canada had, where one year they came out after the rifles. The next year they came out, in fact, this year it was just about the handguns. And we'll listen to a clip on that shortly. But, I mean, if you think that they just are coming after your rifles, you're sorely mistaken. I'm talking like crazy. What are your thoughts? I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, that clip was like, wow, that's history in the making right there. Because I think, did he just say that the American military was going to boycott gun manufacturers? Right? I mean, how is he talking like that? That it makes no sense for you and I or other American citizens to have those firearms, but he's still buying from them.
Oh yeah.
And matter of fact, I'm pretty sure the military is the biggest consumer of those firearms with those gun manufacturers. How much money are they giving to Lockheed Martin right now for way bigger weapons? And then you look around the world too. How many U.S. guns are getting used around the world? Like maybe in this place called Ukraine right now, to slaughter people. So for the quote president to say something like that, I think he should back it up by boycott the purchase of firearms.
Yeah. Well, and we know for a fact that, we talk about this all the time, but, people always say, well, you're going to take them away from the military. You're going to take away. Here's the thing. And we've said it before. They honestly don't care about guns. Mm-hmm. They care about you and me having guns.
Yep, exactly.
Because, here's the thing. He needs to tell, and I saw lots of memes come out after he said this, right? One of them was he says this about semi-automatic weapons, and that his Secret Service was like, you know what I'm saying? Who needs a semi-automatic weapon, right? Because they don't care about us. They are the elitists. They don't care. They don't care about guns. They care about us having guns because guess what? They're still going to have their guns. Yeah. And all those senators and they're still going to have their security.
And I mean, you want to talk about, there being no need for something. I mean, is there a need for our president to have 5 homes when he's been in politics for the past 50 years?
Yeah.
Is there a need for 5 homes? No. You and I don't have a need for it.
I barely afford the one I got.
Yeah. So let's just get into all of this, these things of, if you want to talk about things that don't need to be in the hands of people. Yeah, hey, Biden, first of all, boycott military buying any firearms. Second of all, sell 4 of your homes.
And honestly, I don't think he would, I don't think he'd be opposed. Well, here's the guy, I don't think he's opposed to gutting the military if he absolutely had to. I mean, I think he's probably already doing it, right? And it's very interesting because he says that it's crazy, right? It's crazy that he doesn't know anyone would in their right mind have these semi-automatic. The dude left like millions of freaking guns, right?
Yeah. Tanks.
Yeah, and absolutely everything.
Like, I think he's honest. He doesn't know anyone in their right mind.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Including himself.
Yeah.
And his son and his wife.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just one of those things we got to pay attention, right? Just because things didn't go exactly how we wanted it for the election, but I believe we have the House, right? Is it the House that we have?
I'm not sure.
We have one of those. I think it's the House. I'm pretty sure we have that. But so it's just one of those things, right? We go, oh, we did this, we accomplished this. Well, they're going to try to push all this crap through when you're not looking. That's how they play this game. That's exactly how they do this. And let me play this thing out of Canada, because I did refer to and mention Canada just a few minutes ago. So let me go ahead and play this. And it's not the full. It's like a 14-minute audio video thing that I found, but I don't have 14 minutes worth. Just a little bit, but it talks about how they are they're revisiting, but it talks about some people that are kind of maybe trying to talk about this handgun ban that they have here.
The whole idea behind the premise of C-21, the Liberals told the public, was public safety. It's all about public safety. And when the bill was debated on second reading, to first come to this committee.
Sorry, public safety, kind of like the masks.
Nowhere did the government have this in any of their conversations. They tried to assure Canadians now for a number of years that their attack on firearms and firearm owners in this country was legitimate and it's only for public safety, which we've all seen and clearly see it's got nothing to do with public safety. And to go back to the point I made earlier, this particular bill, when debated in the House, included none of this. So, it's brought in at the 11th hour to, because the Liberals knew that if this was to be debated in the Canadian public, which this impacts, it would be shot down and witnesses would come by the dozens that would speak against it. Now, I would challenge Ms. Danshaw's comment. This doesn't affect hundreds of thousands. This affects millions of Canadians and millions of firearms. There are millions of Canadians who hunt and sports shoot. And so what I'd like to do for some time is to go to our
and we'll just cut it off there because that is about over. And I just couldn't find a good place to kill it when I made the audio clip. But, just right there, right? They're struggling over there. The rifles and now the handguns. And if we don't pay attention, that's what they're going to do here, right? This lame duck session, 11th hour. So, like, when does the lame duck session, when is that over? When it's like in January, right? Is that when they pick it up?
I believe
Imagine this stuff being done right before Christmas when no one's paying attention, right? Push. And honestly, I think Biden's an idiot anyway, but then he went and said what he said, right? But I could see them trying to do this. It's there. It's a real thing. It's a big threat. And it's essentially a bill like what Canada has. And they may call it an assault weapons ban, but I think there's way more in there than what we even know about it. And I think he touched on that when he talked about semi-automatic. Because what's a semi-automatic? You have your rifles, you have your handguns, you have shotguns. We're all gonna have to turn into Jerry Mitchellek and just be really good with the freaking revolver. I don't know what else to say, but we have to. Hopefully, we got some people that'll stand up for this, but everyone needs to know what's going on.
Yeah, and you made a good point right before you played that clip with the whole mask situation. I think maybe we should start that campaign, right? My gun protects you, your gun protects me, just like they tried to do with the mask.
Yeah,
it makes a lot more sense than it did with the mask.
I like it.
Hey, why do I need this? Oh, it's to protect you, and you should have one to protect me.
I like it. That's a good campaign there, buddy.
Conceal carry, protect your neighbor.
That is absolutely perfect. That's great. It's just, I don't know. It's just scary times, man. And I don't always follow these things like I should. And, I'm fortunate enough to have friends that really follow a lot of this political stuff and these bills, and they kind of keep me in the loop. And, I'm like a, squirrel, my attention kind of runs all over the place, but it's really something that we have to pay attention to because it's a real thing, and they could come for them, right?
Yeah, and I think they will. One of the things when a lot of this stuff really became apparent a couple years ago during the pandemic, my wife was the first one of us to. She started looking at the world stuff and say something. And I told her, don't worry about that. Those are different countries. It doesn't matter.
Right.
But now, like speaking towards that clip you just played, now I do realize that this is a lot of the stuff going on in the world is coming here.
Well, and why do you think it hasn't already come here? Why is it?
Yes, exactly.
Because we have the Second Amendment, because we can defend ourselves, because we have those tools to stand up against a tyrannical government, or we'd be Australia, we'd be Canada, we'd be, anywhere else where they're having problems that, they kind of hushed the media on anyway that we didn't hear about, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we would be those people. That's why they're pushing for these to take our firearms. They have a plan in play. I don't know exactly what it is. I'm sure I could come up with a few good ideas, but they have a plan, and I think a major part of their plan is to disarm the citizens of this country. And until they can do that, I think their plan is it's really hard for them to move forward with the rest of their plan.
Yeah, and I mean, I think people should really take a look at what it means when your government starts speaking to you as they are, because it's supposed to be we run the government, not the government runs us. Yeah. So when they start talking like this, think of how they're talking to you as less than children, basically.
Oh, yeah.
You guys don't need that toy. Well, first of all, I get to call it whatever I want. You don't get to say it's a toy that I don't get to have. I'm not your child. Right? They're calling us irresponsible to the point of which they're saying they have to protect us from each other. Think about that. And that's coming from the United States government, which kills probably million-something people a year around the world, right?
Yeah.
And they're telling us that we can't be trusted with firearms as individuals. So I find it personally very insulting. Even when I was in the military, I thought, if I'm able to have this firearm or whatever weapon, that the public should too.
Right.
Because I know myself well enough to know that, it's self-preservation, basically. I'm going to look to protect mine and my family, and everyone else should have that same right. Well, it shouldn't be kept to where basically we're being babysat at this point by our government.
Well, yeah. I mean, and it's, they want to push us to the point of us doing something stupid so they can come in and say, well, look at this mass shooting. Look at this shooting in the mall. Look at this. You guys are irresponsible with these things. We can't have it. And that's part of what leads me to believe that they have created this. They have manufactured these things, these shootings to happen, right? I mean, it's, MK Ultra, whatever you want to call it. I've touched on it before, but I mean, it doesn't even sound, honestly, it doesn't even, 3-4 years ago, it might have sounded crazy. It doesn't sound crazy anymore.
Yeah. And I mean, they do manufacture quite a bit, even at the local level where I was with law enforcement. There was things where I wouldn't say we manufactured it, but with the media, basically things were way out of proportion, and
they control it. They control the public fear.
Was
they
very
control
misled.
The rage. Yeah.
So something that occurred a couple of times, I think throughout the nation, but where I was, it happened a couple of times. For example, when they say, "Oh, the protesters is so massive, they blocked the freeway," right?
Right.
How many people does it take to block a freeway? One.
Yeah.
It wasn't big, right?
Right.
They made it that it was this big thing and made it to where freeways shut down. All it takes is one person to shut down the freeway, right? There was another protest I was called in to deal with. I got there. There were 7 cameras and 7 actual people protesting. So just as many cameras from the news stations as there were people protesting. Got home, watched the nightly news. They did the angle thing to where it didn't show the other cameras, and it made it look like this massive thing outside the courthouse. And I was there. I thought this is a waste of time. I'm getting paid for it. But basically there was 7 protesters there. And they put that on the news as if it was some big thing. And they were pushing a certain agenda to where it's not that hard for them to manufacture this stuff. It's not hard for, like you're saying, yes, MK Ultra is real, and it didn't just disappear.
Look it up if you don't know what it is.
But yeah, it doesn't take much. You get one rogue person that you somehow convince or manipulate to do something, or just to be in the right spot. not to go down that rabbit hole too much, but I started looking at the JFK stuff, for example, right?
Yeah.
I just forgot his name, the guy they pinned it on.
Oh, yeah.
But I looked into his interviews and stuff and realized, like, basically he worked at that place.
Yeah.
He worked at that place, and they were able to pin it. Didn't find the rifle on him. None of that, right? Didn't take much. They just found someone who, we could use him.
Yeah, and just think about it. Think about all the lockdowns that we did, right?
Yeah.
The lockdowns that they did, and you stay at home, and you can't do this, and you have a curfew, and you can go out just to work, or you can't now, or whatever it is, right? When they had everyone at home, they could really push the news media at that point. They could push whatever they wanted because there was nobody out to see anything.
Yeah, what was that movie? Something Orange? I forgot the name of it. People out there probably know. Something Orange. But basically, it reminds me of that scene where the guy's eyeballs are being held open.
Oh, okay.
And he's forced to watch. That's essentially what the lockdowns were.
Oh, yeah.
It was shut you inside, watch what we're telling you to watch. Fear. Showing bodies collapsing in China and stuff.
Yeah.
Why? Because you can't look outside. If you looked outside and away from your TV screen, you would go, wait a second, I don't see that actually happening.
Yeah, and they take the cameras into these hospitals that were supposed to, and like you said, if they could take 7 people on a freeway and get the camera angles right, or a protest, and make it look like this massive protest, they can take 4, 5, 6 sick people in a hospital that is there for who knows what reasons, and make it look like it's just crazy, right?
Yeah.
Make it look like it's just there's no room in the hospital, and there's
and then controlling their information, they just cut it off, like with the hospitals, right?
Yeah.
My big thing has always been, how come the numbers prior to 2020 all disappeared? How come we don't see hospitalizations before 2020 anymore?
Right.
They just said, oh, a spike. Show me 2015.
Well, it was very interesting that we are on the hospital, and this is, I don't know if it's kind of related to firearms still, but I actually had a couple. My classes were gangbusters during all that. It's gangbusters, and I actually had one class where I had 2 nurses show up, and they were nurses at the local hospital here in Twin. And I found out that they were nurses, and I pulled them aside and I said, "So tell me what's going on. I mean, I want to know." And they're like, "It's nothing. It's nothing. This is nothing." They're like, we work at the hospital, St. Luke's. And I'll say it. We work at St. Luke's. We work at the hospital. Like, we're there in the middle of it. They're like, "What you're hearing on the news is a lie. It's a lie." And I said, "So you guys aren't concerned?" They're like, "Okay, you have like 30 people in your class today. If this was a big thing, if we were scared, would we be here?"
Yeah.
They're like, "Yeah, anything you hear it's just false. It's lies, especially local. It's just." And so they can take it, and they can, money controls the narrative. That's what it is. It's absolutely money. And they'll do the same thing with firearms.
Yeah, exactly. With firearms, for example, every time they talk about a mass shooting, number one, they don't call it a mass shooting when it's always occurring in places like Chicago. They just sweep that under the rug.
Yeah.
But also, you take the number of gun owners in this country, right?
Which is massive right now.
Yeah. It would be minuscule to say, oh, this many people died. Now, loss of life is nothing to,
right.
Overlook. However, the numbers are very small as far as people who are walking around with firearms.
Yeah.
And the number of murders occurring because of firearms. In fact, I heard somewhere, I want to say like rocks kill more people than firearms per year.
Well, and here's the thing, and you can go to the magazine. If you go to the right places, you can find them. You can go to the USCCA magazines, the NRA magazine, whatever, I forget what magazine they have. But if you go and look at all the good, solid defensive uses with a firearm that happen every single week, every single year, every single day in the United States, they far outnumber these mass shootings, right? I would imagine they far outnumber the lives. You know what I'm saying? It's just, they're out there, but you know what? You don't hear them.
Yeah, and then you don't hear all the stories of machetes, knives. I've seen people killed with machetes, with knives.
gruesome.
I tell you, when they say 5 people killed, again, nothing to overlook death, but someone with a machete could cause that much damage very easily.
Oh, very much so.
No one else has a firearm, a weapon to defend against a machete. So how come we're not hearing every time someone's stabbed with a knife,
right,
or with a machete? Like, we're not hearing that because for whatever reason they believe firearms probably is going to be
you can
the
see
means for us to defend ourselves against the government. More so.
Yep, exactly. It's exactly right. And it's funny how social media, has, and just as much as I complained about social media already today, and they get on there and they control that narrative too. And in fact, there's a story that I caught on YouTube. It's by a guy by the name of I believe it's Guns and Gadgets. He came out and talked about it, and about how there was an actual gentleman, a YouTuber, that put out a video totally complete legit legal video on how to finish your 80% lower. Mm-hmm. And they pulled him. They kicked him off. They pulled his video, and he goes in to talk about how there was an attorney general that stood up for this and actually wrote a letter to YouTube, and we'll play just a little bit of it so you guys can hear what it's talking about.
Yes, I don't know why it took me forever to find this letter, but it's here nonetheless. Here is a letter from the Attorney General of Montana, Austin Knudsen, and he is going right after YouTube related to them censoring firearm-related content, and it's great. On screen here is the letter, and it's directed to the CEO of YouTube, Susan Wojcicki. It says, "Dear Ms. Wojcicki, I write to express concern over YouTube's decision to remove legal videos containing speech disfavored by the platform. YouTube recently removed a video from the Rogue Banshees channel, which provided instructions on how to finish construction of an 80% lower. The removal occurred after 5 Democrat United States senators wrote a letter to YouTube asking the platform to do so." Now, I covered that letter when it came out and put it out everywhere and called some of the people that were in the letter, because YouTube was going after, these senators were going after individual creators. And if I can remember, I'll pin it above. To be clear.
So, that's a much longer video than that. You can find us at Guns and Gadgets on YouTube. It's his most recent one. It's pretty interesting because he goes through and totally reads the entire letter that the Attorney General of Montana wrote to YouTube. And, as much as, I'm like, yes, let's lay it all out for YouTube, right? Are they going to listen? I don't know if they will. It'd be cool if other attorney generals, supported the people in their state, who've had problems with YouTube and jumped on there. Now I'm going to back this up and say, I think this is cool. I think I like it, right? But part of me also, and you'll have to correct me. Okay. Again, this is like the libertarian in me coming out. As much as it irritates me that social media controls the content, whether it be on YouTube or Facebook or whatever, and I don't think it's fair what they do, right? I don't know how any of this worked. Is it like a personal, it's like a private enterprise. It's like a private business, right? Shouldn't they have the right to control? I mean, think about it. If I own a private business in Idaho, for example, and I don't want firearms in there, I just put up a sign. And if I see someone with a firearm that comes in, I say, I don't want the gun in here. You have to leave, and I can get you trespassed from the property. Where is the line on this, right? I mean, it irritates me because I want to be able to put my stuff out there too. But yet again, they can choose.
I would say if we were actually in a free market, then what you're saying is valid. Unfortunately, YouTube, Google, it's state funded. It's basically a state run organization in which our tax dollars are funding it. Okay. You can look into, DARPA through CIA. Mm-hmm. Google was started through that, right? That was not this couple of guys from Stanford. No, those 2 guys actually were funded through their education through a DARPA program. They got a grant to get Google going, right?
Gotcha. Okay.
And they had the end result in mind. It wasn't, kind of, oh, look at that. Now we're spying on everybody's searches.
They're taking some kind of tax dollars to
exactly.
Gotcha,
so
okay.
if it wasn't state-run organizations,
that makes sense.
And yeah, my background education, I have some business background with that. And yeah, you look at these organizations, they're not actually profitable. Amazon is not profitable. YouTube is not profitable in and of themselves. They rely on subsidies and government contracts. So Amazon basically is somewhat of a, like a lot of these things like FTX, it's a laundering scheme. So Amazon, for example, their actual day-to-day operations are not profitable. What is profitable is their overall ability to create the firmware and whatnot that is contracted through the military, through the government, to utilize that stuff. So that's how Bezos is getting rich. Amazon itself as a profit model is very poor. It is not actually. So I'm
glad I had you on today.
So actually, yeah, no, they're funded through our tax dollars, and that's where that goes out the door. So when the White House is telling them what to do, and the White House, our tax dollars are funding them, they're no longer
a privately owned corporation.
If you and I actually came up with an algorithm to say start our own Google, we would never get off the ground unless the government saw reasons to get us grants
to
allow us to have that platform.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. So, well then, damn it, they need to quit this. It needs to be fair. Then all of a sudden, well, it's social media. It just bothers me, and I've tried doing the YouTube thing, and we used to do these live on YouTube. And that was fun. That was kind of fun, right?
Yeah.
And I'm considering some kind of YouTube avenues coming up in the near future, but that's video, and that's hard. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's I think it's difficult, but anyhow, then let's move on to this. So one of my favorite gun guys, right, that I listen to, right, I like his stuff, is Coolion Noir, and he's always coming out with these awesome videos, coming up with some some great what ifs and news stories, and I mean he's there, he's all over. Like he's big channel. He used to be on YouTube. Now I believe he's on YouTube and he's on Rumble, I believe, as well. But he always hits the nail on the head. Now he's going to come up with a question here of, how many rounds do you need in a self-defense situation? How many is too many? Let's play this.
If the day ever comes that you have to use a gun to protect yourself, how many rounds do you think you'll need?
A man is dead after police say he forced his way into another man's home in Chickasha.
Well, the Chickasha police chief tells me the homeowner knew the man who broke into his house. And just seconds after the intruder got inside, he was greeted by gunfire.
I mean, it was just pop, 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 pop. I mean, just as, as quick as someone could squeeze a trigger.
Gunshots ringing out.
In which a subject had broken into the home. As the subject made entry into the home, the homeowner opened fire.
I mean, it happened so fast. I walked outside and could smell gunpowder right away.
More than a dozen shell casings were left scattered all over the floor.
I heard rounds being fired off, sound between 10 to 15 rounds.
The intruder was pronounced dead at the scene. The Chickasha police chief confirms the two did know each other. Why the man broke in is also still being investigated by the department.
So once we notify next of kin, we may be able to release more details, but it's going to take some time and investigation.
The Chickasha police chief says whether or not the homeowner will face charges is up to the district attorney.
Well, it looks like this homeowner shot at least 12 times because there were at least a dozen shell casings scattered across the floor. I've taken my fair share of firearm self-defense training courses, and there is one thing every single one of these instructors say over and over again. Keep shooting until the threat is no longer a threat. Not keep shooting until the person dies, but until that person is no longer a threat. So going back to the question I asked at the beginning of this video, if the day comes and you have to use your gun to protect yourself, how many rounds do you think you'll need? The answer is all of them. You don't know. You could be attacked by 4 people, 10 people, or one person hopped up on drugs and refuses to stop killing you. Or some people just don't want to die even when they're not hopped up on drugs. There is literally a cop that carries 145 rounds of ammo on the job. Yes, you heard me, 145 rounds. and his name is Timothy Graymans. Want to know why he carries 145 rounds? Because in 2008, he got into a gunfight with one criminal where he shot 33 rounds and had to hit the criminal 14 times before he stopped trying to kill him. By the time the EMS arrived, the criminal was still showing vital signs. He didn't even die until he got to the hospital. The crazy thing is, there were no signs of drugs or alcohol in this criminal system. After this shooting, he went from carrying 47 rounds of 45 to 145 rounds of 9mm.
9mm.
I don't care how many studies people do on the average number of shots fired in a self-defense shooting. I don't care how many rounds Joe Biden thinks I need.
So, yeah, I mean, you know, what kills me, right? I mean, and everyone's going to do it. I'd rather someone carry a gun, a small gun that doesn't carry that many rounds than not carry anything at all. But it just kills me. These small guns kill me, man, when you're only getting, and granted, they've gone to smaller guns with double stacks now, right? But small guns and low round counts bother me. But I'm a full-size gun guy. But it's very interesting when people are like, you know, I'm only going to need this many rounds. You don't know how you're going to react. So in a self-defense situation, when you're trying to save yourself, right? I mean, you heard like the officer fired 40 something rounds and he hit like 14, right? And your adrenaline's up. You're going to pull 80% of your shots. You just are. And I'm going to tell you right now, the average citizen does not train for that. They do not train enough. They do not practice enough to go out and be proficient enough and get their heart rate up enough and their adrenaline pumping through their bodies to know what that's even like. And if they're, and I'm going to, no one's watching me, but I'm ready to do hand motions, right? Like if you are hitting in an area the size of like a soccer ball, right? And in a self-defense situation, if that's what you do at the standard range, in a self-defense situation, that could be 4, 5, 6, 7 times that, right? And you may not even realize how many times you shoot. I mean, bang, 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 bang. All of a sudden you're out of ammo. You don't have an extra mag with you, or bang, 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 bang. You've missed. You haven't hit anything. You need more ammo. People don't think about that.
Yeah, I mean, just it has me thinking about a fight, right? Being in a fight. Every punch technically can kill someone too, right? Especially to the face. You cause internal bleeding. Anyone out there who's been in a fight, think back to how many times did you throw a punch? You probably don't remember. Maybe in hindsight, you kind of go back and think, maybe I threw this many. But you're not counting. Why? Because you're in the heat of the battle and you're trying, if the person's still fighting you,
trying to survive.
If they're still swinging or attacking you, you're throwing as many punches as you need to stop the threat, right?
Right.
It's no different than the firearm. Basically, for self-defense out there, everyone, do not count bullets.
Yeah.
Other than taking a class with Todd at Patriot Defense, there's no reason you should be counting your bullets at all.
You don't count bullets anyway. You just, I mean, you're going to shoot till you're out. That's what I tell everyone. I give these people in class to try to count their rounds. I'm like, I only had you load 7 rounds. And they're like, okay, I should be out. I'm like, just fire the freaking gun till it goes click.
Yeah. And the thing, as an officer, I would tell people with that is basically picture yourself, you're in your home, someone is banging on the door trying to get in, right?
Yeah.
They finally get in, you're like, stop, leave immediately, right? They're not listening. They're not responding. And then you see them start to hold, say, a firearm, whatever it is. It's you got your daughter, you got your son, you got a family member.
Yeah.
And also you, right? And then you have your firearm. And it's dark, whatever. Are you counting bullets? Yeah. Are you trying to get that guy not to continue on into your house to cause harm on you and your family? If you're counting bullets, you're
doing it wrong. You're wasting
family, time. You're endangering your family.
Yeah, you need to shoot till they're no longer a threat. And I tell everyone, self-defense. This is what self-defense shooting is all about. Okay, how many rounds can you get downrange as quickly as you can and on target? And I tell people when I do my permit classes, right, we start to shoot slow at first, and the second 50 we speed our rounds up. The first, if they're a seasoned shooter, Okay. The first slow shoots, first 50, they're probably going to have a nice little, especially if they know what they're doing, a nice little tight group, right? And then when I speed up, they need to be going faster than everyone else. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because they can get their rounds faster. If you're still getting a nice, tight little group and you're shooting fast, guess what? You need to shoot faster. Because that's what it's about, right? You want to stop the threat. And how do you stop a threat? Is you put holes in them. You drop their blood pressure, and you do that by putting holes in them. That's how you drop their blood pressure, and that's what you want to do. And you need to train that way. And I've seen videos. It's been a few years, but I saw a video of a law enforcement officer. I think it was like a body cam or something. Like he went in there. I think they were serving a warrant. They're doing something, and they went into this house. And he had to use his gun. He was shook up, obviously, but he had to use his firearm. He had to fire his firearm, and it was kind of like they were like live tracking, whatever was going on. And he goes, "Yeah, I only shot 3 times." And they're like, "You shot 12 times.
Mm-hmm.
You shot 12 times."
Yeah, and that's why they take our firearms in law enforcement, because it's not a matter of how many times did you shoot. It's we're going to count.
Well, yeah.
we're going to go figure it out, because the guy who shot probably isn't going to know. He is going to maybe 5, maybe 6, right?
Right.
But no, let's get your actual firearm in your magazine so we can count, because why? We know you're not going to be a reliable source, because you do have all that adrenaline, that stress. Mm-hmm. Why? Because your goal was to get out of the situation alive,
right?
Not to count how many bullets, how many times you pull the trigger. And I think part of that, to the common man right now, I think Hollywood might play a role. Those 80s, 90s, even now, you got the John Wicks and stuff, and it's not like the movies. People do not fall or fly when you shoot them.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
They are still alive. You could get shot by a dead man. That's how we referred to it, right? You could get killed by a dead man. Right?
Yeah.
You could have shot him straight through the heart. Guess what? He has probably at least 6 seconds of life left, and he can fire his rifle, his firearm, whether it's one time or at least you could probably empty a whole nother mag in 6 seconds, right?
Yeah.
So congrats, you killed him and he still killed you.
Yeah.
So if you're counting those bullets and going, "Oh, I shot him 5 times," well, guess what? He still has 10 trigger pulls left in him. So for self-defense, if you want to walk out alive and you're counting bullets, you're doing it wrong.
Oh yeah, for sure. So I like to end it up, in the podcast with Coleon. He's a great guy. You've never heard of him before, have you?
No.
Yeah, he's got some really funny videos too. And I always tell everyone they got to check him out. He's got some of his classics, which they haven't been out. They're way old, but it's like, he stereotypes the people that carry 40, the people that carry 9s, the people that carry 45s, and it is freaking hilarious. So, anyhow, if you guys haven't heard of Coleon, check him out. He's on Rumble. He's on YouTube, and I feel like I should get paid for this a little bit. But
send him a letter.
Yeah, he ain't gonna pay me for it. He doesn't need me pushing him. In fact, he'll probably look deeper into my stuff and go, "You know what? How about you just don't talk about me anymore?" But I appreciate everyone listening to the podcast as always. I hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving, and now we're on the home stretch for Christmas. And my wife's got a birthday before Christmas.
Ooh.
I haven't done any. I have no idea. I think I'm just going to give her some money. I think I'm just going to give her some cash.
Well, you got all this ammo.
Yeah, I got a bunch of ammo.
They're all, the casings.
Yeah, I'll give her some. Maybe you know how kids used to make jewelry, macaroni jewelry? I'm going to make her jewelry out of my 9mm brass. That's going to be freaking awesome. But if you like the podcast, share it on social media. If you trust your social media, share it with your family, share it with your friends. I do appreciate it. I always appreciate all the support. You can go down in the show notes. You can join the Patreon. In fact, I have got a bunch more videos put together. I just need to get them loaded up on Patreon. So there's going to be a big blast of videos coming here pretty quick. I'm taking them videos off of something else that isn't getting a lot of traction, and I'm going to throw them on Patreon. Patreon is $5 a month. It's $5 a month. It's like, it's a gallon of gas.
Now that you put it that way.
Yeah, it's a large coffee, and I guarantee you people are still drinking the coffee.
Yeah.
I drove by on Black Friday to go running, and I drove by the local coffee place, and there is probably 40 cars lined up out there. So come on.
Yeah, and we talked about fitness earlier too, right? The line to McDonald's is still long, so I'm sure that's more than $5.
Yeah, so you can afford $5 for a little
help your fitness,
a little
and
self-defense, a little training, right? That's what I want to see. But just share the podcast. I do appreciate that. Give us a rate on review. You can find the podcast wherever you find podcasts: iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher. Anywhere. And if I make some social media changes here coming up, I will let you guys know. I am on Twitter. Find Patriot Defense on Twitter. I don't know how active I'll be there, but find me on Twitter. Twitter's fascinating to me. I spent a little time over the weekend kind of swiping through Twitter, and some of the conversations there are fascinating. They're kind of juvenile, but I do like them. That's me. I'm kind of juvenile myself. So until then, you guys have a good week, and I will see you next weekend. Bye.